Good morning, class, and welcome to another class with Professor Choi. Today we're going to continue with those set of videos that we have been doing before. So this is a set of videos for simple steps for a better future, and these are part of financial advice for young adults. On my first video, I offered some basic financial advice for young adults, and the financial advice was to become money aware, to have a creative budget, to open a retirement account, avoid recurring high interest credit card debt, and finish college or become an entrepreneur. Now, what we're doing right now is a different video for each one of these categories, and we are today on video number 3. Okay? Open a retirement account. So today I'm going to try to explain why you want to be opening a retirement account. So, retirement accounts come in different forms. These are just basic names for most retirement accounts. They call them 403Bs, 401Ks, IRAs, which stands for Individual Retirement Account, or Roth IRAs. Now, all of them offer some kind of tax advantage. Usually, the main advantage is that you can put the money in there pre-tax, which normally means you're allowed to basically put more money in. So it's pre-tax money, and then your money basically grows, quote unquote, tax-free up until the moment where you start withdrawing it. And then it becomes ordinary income at the time that you withdraw it. Now, the biggest reason why you want to be opening a retirement account is because the government and your employer are basically encouraging everyone to do it. And the biggest encouragement they have is that they match the funding that you do into your retirement account. So if you open a 403B or a 401K, normally the way it works is your employer will match your contributions up until a certain amount, usually around 2 to 3% of your salary. So basically, if you put in 3% of your salary, they will match it with 3% out of their own pocket. And I gotta tell you, there is no other account out there where you get 100% of your money on the moment you put the money in. And that's what I'm basically trying to explain. So if your employer matches, say, 3% of whatever you put in your retirement account, if you put $1,000, they give you $1,000 free. And again, there is no other account out there where you put 100 and they give you 100, or where you put 1,000 and they give you 1,000, which basically means that you start with double your money. So this is an absolutely excellent way, especially if you have a matching from your employer, to grow money fast and make it work for you. All right. Now the second reason is because in a retirement account, you cannot touch that money until you're basically 60 or so. I think it's 59 and a half. So you can't touch it until you're 59 and a half, which basically makes you save the money and you have no choice. Now, remember, you can still take the money out, but there will be a tax penalty associated with that, which you will have to take right away as soon as you take the money out. Or if you pass away before you get to 59 and a half and you don't get to enjoy your money, you can definitely pass it on to someone else. In other words, the money is yours. It's just that by law, you're not supposed to touch it until 59 and a half, or you will be a higher tax penalty for doing it. Now, why am I saying that this is a good thing? Well, because most people don't know how to save. And this is an excellent way to be ready for retirement. Because most people say, oh yeah, I'm going to save, but then they start saving some money, they get to a certain amount, and then they use it for a big project, and there it goes, you have no more savings. So your retirement account is a way to ensure that you're going to have a better financial future when you need it the most and you can work the least. All right. Now, if you don't have the option of opening a 403B or a 401K, and you have to go the route where you open your own account at a bank, you can open an IRA or a Roth IRA, and either one of them will offer you options to invest in funds. Now, these funds are basically professionally managed portfolios by the people who sell those funds. Make sure that you pick low cost index funds. According to Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the United States for the past I think 30 years or so, and according also to people like Bill Gates, they say that low cost index funds are the best way for you to invest and take advantage of the market without somebody taking advantage of you by basically taking too much money out of your money. Now, an extra recommendation that I normally have is that if you don't know where to put your money once you get this retirement account, then allocate it on a retirement date fund. What a retirement date fund basically does is it allocates your money already in a way in which it corresponds with your age. Normally, when you are young, what they do is they do a mix of about 80-20, 80 on risky and 20 on safe. And again, that's when you're young. The mix then starts changing as you get older because of course there'll be a date where you want to pick up the money and then you don't have the ability to withstand that much risk because you don't have the time to basically wait to pick that money back up. So when you get older and closer to that retirement year, then they start switching that mix and it becomes more like 20-80 and then between risky and safe. So the account, the retirement date fund account, allocates this money automatically and then it allows you to basically set it and forget it. So all you got to do is basically put the money in there and let it rest and let it do its thing. All right. Now, where exactly is your money invested? And a few things that usually people ask questions about. So, where do they put my money? Well, they basically put your money on financial assets. The biggest portion of those two financial assets are stocks and bonds. Now, there might be other stuff on those funds, but the biggest things are basically stocks and bonds. Now, remember, stocks are ownership of a company, and then bonds is basically debt. Now, there are two major issuers of debt in terms of bonds are corporations, so you could have corporate bonds, or governments. Those are the biggest ones. And the US government, it's the biggest of all. And they're the biggest, by the way, of any corporation, and they're the biggest of any government in the world. So, stocks and bonds are usually the way your retirement account is allocated most of the time. So in other words, the funds are basically invested in financial assets, most of which are stocks and bonds. The reason why you invest in a lot of this stuff is because it pays dividends that goes into your pocket, plus it increases in value over time, plus they pay interest as well. So a lot of these debt payments, you get constant interest added into your account. Again, not to mention, as I said, if you get a 401k or a 403b, every time you put money in, your employer puts money in. So again, you're doubling your money the first day, and then after that it keeps growing over time. It's very difficult, by the way, to get this deal. All right, now, in this particular portion, I like to show you the math for some of these stuff so you understand that this is totally worth your time and that it's a big deal, okay? So let's take a look at two individual situations. Let's say that on situation A, I have $10,000 on my pocket and I'm going to deposit it on my regular savings account, which right now pays 0.01%, and I'm going to do that for 30 years. Okay? So again, you have $10,000 today, and you're going to deposit it on a savings account that pays 0.01% a year for 30 years. Okay? And then you're going to see how much money you're going to pick up 30 years later. Alright, so we have a formula for that. It's called the future value formula. Now there are a couple of assumptions on this formula that you need to be aware of every time we use it. So the biggest assumption is that every time you make money, it gets reinvested back into the account. So you're basically just constantly putting the money back into the account, and then the account keeps growing not only by the amount of money that you originally had, but also by all the extra amount of money that you're making, and then it gets deposited right back into the account. Okay? So if you put it on a retirement account, if you put it on a savings account, then the way to figure out how much money you're going to pick up in the future is by using this formula here. So we're going to figure out the future value by doing present value, which is $10,000, and then multiplying that times 1 plus. We got to turn that interest rate into a decimal, and to turn a percent into a decimal, we just move the dot a couple of steps to the left. So we do 0.0001, and then we're going to do it for 30 years. So we got to do it to the power n is that period that we're going to be doing. Again, when you're using this formula, make sure that if you do interest rate in years, which is usually the way they give it to you, something called APR, you also do the number of years in years. Alright, so how much money will my $10,000 make me over 30 years? Let me get my trusty calculator here to do the math. So we got 10,000 times 1.1231. So yes, over 30 years on this account, we are going to pick up a whole $30.04. Yes, you heard that right. If you keep $10,000 today in your regular savings account, all you're going to be making is $30 over 30 years. That is ridiculous. So if this is your retirement, plan, it's terrible. Alright, let me show you a slightly better idea so you understand how different interest rates change the outcome over long periods of time by a lot. Okay? Let's do option B. So we're going to invest the same $10,000, but instead we're going to be shopping around for a better interest rate. In other words, we're still going to put it on a savings account, but we're going to be looking for a bank that gives us a better interest rate out there. Before I did this video, I did a search, and there is a bank out there today paying an interest rate of 1.2% on your money. Alright, so not 0.01, but 1.2%. Now let's make the assumption that the bank pays you 1.2% forever, which again may not be true, but it helps us with the understanding here. Okay? So, and we're going to do that for 30 years. How do we find out how much money we're going to pick up over 30 years? Well, we use our formula here. So future value is equal to, we got our $10,000 times 1 plus. Now this 1.2, remember we're going to move this dot 2 steps to the left, so we got to do 0.0120 to the power of 30. Okay? So, let's do the math with that. Alright. At 1.25, we're going to pick up over 30 years $14,302.61. If you deposit your money today on a higher yield savings account, pays you a little bit more, $10,000 over 30 years, you're going to pick up an extra $4,302.61. Now this is a much better option than that, but neither of these two is as good as having a retirement account. Now, let's talk about that retirement account. As you know, investing in equities is very volatile. So basically, some years that number is going to go up, some years the number goes down, some years the number goes up, some years the number goes down. But the point is that over long periods of time, it has an upward trend. So if you look at the stock market over the last 120 years, it grows at around 7 to 8% a year. Now, let's just take the conservative view here, and let's say that it's going to grow at around 6% a year. Alright? So in other words, it's not going to grow a historical number, it's going to grow below that, around 6%. Okay? Let's do the math now. Now remember, when you open a 401k or a 403b, you start with double your money. So you put your 10,000 in, then on top of that they match you. Now, it's not going to be, by the way, 10,000 because of course, like I said, it's about 2 to 3% of your salary. I don't know what your salary is. So you need to figure that out. So if you make 100,000, for example, and they match up to 3% of your salary, that means that if you put 3, they match you with 3. But the point is that they match you. So in other words, you don't start with whatever you put in, you start with double. Now let's not worry about that part there, let's just worry about the 10K. So let's say you put the 10K today on an IRA or a Roth IRA where you don't have that backing, you just put the 10K. Now, how much money would I pick up if it was 6% a year, okay? So my future value is going to be equal to the $10,000 times 1 plus, the interest rate right now is 6%, which is 6.0. So I got to turn that number move the dot 2 steps to the left, so it becomes that in decimals. So 0.060, and then we're going to do that over 30 years. Let's find out how much money I will be picking up at 6%. I'm going to be picking up $57,434.91. That's right. If you put it on your regular savings account, you're going to be making $30 over 30 years. If you put it on a high yield savings account, it's going to be about $14,300 over 30 years. If you put it on a retirement account without taking into account the extra money that your employer gives you, your money will double and triple, and I can almost guarantee if you're in your 20s, it will quadruple. Whatever you put in that account today will quadruple if you're in your 20s, by the time you're 60. That's why I want you to have a retirement account. Alright, as I always say, by the way, to anybody who watches my videos and anybody who takes my classes, if you ever make too much money, and I made you some money, Professor Choi is always willing to take some of your money, you know? So if this video made you some money, you owe me a little. Alright, in any case, I was joking about that. Have a good one, and thank you for sticking by with Professor Choi. Please, follow my guidance to a better future and financial advice for young adults. Number 3, open a retirement account as soon as possible. Take care.